But yeah, like the shield, for example, only takes one hit, which is bonkers, because even Darius, like think of like even the most brutal of shmups of the era, had your shield take multiple hits. And every time you got a power-up, it replenished. Whereas this,
Also,
you get one hit and that's it. You cannot stack.
Holy shit.
Also, it is an absolute chore to upgrade your main shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, like, just to compare it also to Darius. So Darius had a brutal way of doing your weapon, where you had to get 6 power-ups in order to upgrade your weapon to a tier. The thing is, once your weapon got upgraded to that whatever the next tier was, it stayed there. Whereas this, there is no way to keep it at the max. If you like die, you will lose your effectiveness. And also the thing is, if they made it so that you lost energy or whatever the thing is at the end of it, that would be fine. If it weren't for the fact that in order to, it is either at no power or full power.
Yep.
And if you lose it any at all, you if you lose any at all,
You're back to
it's you're boned. And if you're a boss, you can't get it back up.
Yep.
Which also I'm curious about something.
Like, it's
By the way, because I didn't continue, because I didn't hit the continue button, I have to start a new game.
The fuck?
if memory serves, it also gives you a limited number of saves.
Yeah, you only get one. You get one.
You can earn another.
Oh, that's what. Oh, yeah, because yeah. Okay, so that's what I saw. Was that there was an extra save, which is dumb.
Yeah, you earn like 1 or 2.
Yeah. So I think that's enough Super Hydorah for now. Which
It commits the sin of expecting far too much of the player.
So, yeah, here's the thing that I feel about Super Hydorah. And I'm going to say this with an anecdote to a different game, which was a lot worse than this one. So there was a game a while back, well, I think this was like 4 or 5 years ago. Some Kickstarter company, like any company, was going to be making a... So I like the game Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six 3, Raven Shield. Mm-hmm. And after that point, Rainbow Six became this weird franchise that they lost it. Like Rainbow Six's prior to like the 3 and prior were like these tactical shooters, which I really enjoyed. And they made it like they started making more actiony and all that. So there was this company that was trying to make a quote unquote tactical shooter again, like that. It's a game called Takedown Red Saber. And you would see screenshots of it, and you would like, oh, this is going to be like it's like a new, like some modern, like things in it, like aiming, like you actually aim down sights with the guns, and there's some other mechanics in there. They make it more closer to an actual modern day game, but with like the way it played of the old games. So the game came out. There were 2 things wrong with it. One, it wasn't well developed. But it also, when playing it, like, oh, this is going to be like a new version of Rainbow Six 3. And then you play it, it's like, oh, this plays like Rainbow Six 3. Like, it felt like a total conversion mod of Rainbow Six 3. Like, and that's kind of how I feel about Hydra. Hydra feels like those old games. The problem with it is, it feels like those old games, of which there's umpteen million of them. So, like...
I mean, how many of them have we ranked so far?
I mean, like, we can take a look. We've ranked, I believe, 132 of them so far.
Also, it's interesting that it didn't learn anything from the franchise it was aping.
Yeah, which is the thing. Like, it wanted to be... It emulated it to the point of failure. Well, maybe not failure, but it emulated to the point of screwing itself over.
It's so perfect of an emulation that it has all the glaring flaws magnified.
Yeah.
Not just the glaring flaws, though. It doesn't have, like, its strengths is the issue.
That too.
Because that is one thing that I do feel hurts this game is like there's nothing really exciting about it. It feels like not because it's like
The
if they had
halfway point of the hitbox is, I think, one of the worst parts, honestly.
which that's just another thing. Like that would have been fine if they actually like did something well with it. Because the thing is like if you think about Gradius, like if it had like the interesting power up system, like where you build up power, which I mean that kind of screws it over in certain places, but they could have worked around that. This just feels bleh. Like there's no real gimmick to it. Like if you think of like I was
It's a
comparing
Gradius
it,
game.
like I was comparing it to like some of these games, like up in here.
Yep.
So take like Zexx. Zexx came.
Yep.
Well, it's 1991. It's a horizontal shooter like Gradius and like that. But the thing is, it actually had like development going towards it that actually made it feel interesting and like good. Like I'm trying to think of like Salamander 2, for example, is one that this game kind of reminds me of. Like it is just a competent game. Like but it has like stuff going for it. This is just
so, like
it just doesn't have anything going for it.
yeah, basically the way I see it is like if they had expounded on the weapon system they have, which is really fucking neat, they could have done something more. But the problem is they're so busy aping while at the same time trying not to innovate that they just kind of got left in the dust. Because the game itself, like the actual gameplay, because of it just having the 2 tiers of weapon power and all that mess, it just ends up being really bland because there's no real point in powering up because it's not that huge of a difference.
Yeah.
And once again, they didn't do as much with the varied weapons as they could have. Hell, you could have had all of them at one time, or they could have cut down the number of weapons by like half and just given them to you all at the same time.
Yeah, and done something like
say scenario.
Yeah, like an Axley or a Radiant Silvergun scenario where you had some sort of tactical advantage to use certain weapons at a certain time. Or I'm just trying to think.
You could just go play Hydra.
Well, the thing is that even Hydra, like Hydra has this. This is Hydra, like but with more levels.
Sure.
The problems with Hydra isn't of Super Hydra; it is of Hydra itself.
True.
Yeah, like the other issue I have is once again going back to the weapon system and the upgrade system in general is there are no upgrades. There's only a little bit of speed, a mediocre shield, and one other rank of power.
Which, by the way, one thing that I didn't mention about the power weapons: when you pick a power up, you get 1 charge of it.
That's
So it has the problem where it's like, oh, I get one. Well, when am I going to use it?
And once again, don't
the
forget you
giant
need to
robot
choose
crop.
between the power weapon or speed or whatever else.
Yeah, and also they don't give you nearly enough of those power ups in a stage because it's usually like they're maybe 3. I think like I saw in most in one stage.
He expects you not to die.
And also, like I was saying,
But that many.
once I saw, as I said earlier, the whole thing with the shield is it's just ludicrous. Because, like, and it just reminds me of something that there was a game like the 101 or 1001 Spikes. There was one of the things about that was like, oh, it was hard like the original games. And there was, after you beat the first stage, you go into like this empty area and you see a rat on the floor. And it mentions like, oh, it's weird to think about in older games, some games didn't have checkpoints. Except I remember the exact thought I saw when I said that. I'm like, yeah, there were certain games. We put them back on the shelf because they sucked.
Yeah.
Which once again goes back to the point of part of the problem is it feels like he's aping the games as he remembers them and not as they were. Because like a lot of them had very solid like improvements on fucking Hydra's formula.
Yeah.
Like even going back to Gradius, the Gradius games are a lot more forgiving.
Because at some point, like also I'm thinking we haven't ranked them yet, but I'm just thinking of Parodius because like how they did it. Because I'm thinking of like the live system in this game. Like you think of like Maldita, like comparing it to like Maldita Castilla. You had a live system in that game, and they actually, I felt, did something neat. Like that, it didn't feel as bad in Maldita Castilla. When you died, you went back to a checkpoint, even if it was off a continue. And the fact that you had to beat it within a certain amount of continues, and it gave you the incentive to play the game, to try and learn the game so that you can beat it with the best ending, which there's something to say about that. Like if you're doing the arcade experience that way. In this game, it just doesn't feel as good because whenever you lose a life, you go back to, I believe you either go
It
to
looks like the start.
you go to the start,
Or
you
the
go
boss.
to a transition to a new stage or the boss. But then once you lose those lives, you're back to the beginning of whatever you were doing.
Yeah,
Yep.
it just seems like you
Uh,
would never.
And I mean that crystal boss. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It reminds me of something I said during Cinemora, actually, which is it's very nice when a game wants you to play it, and this doesn't.
Yeah.
It gives you a set number of saves that you either have or can earn over the course of the fucking game.
Because
And it is a very finite number.
Because, like, take a look at, like, some of, like, these games. Like, just take a look at the top 20 and just those games. And look at how old some of these are. Like, Fantasy Zone, Fantasy Zone's a unique case. But, like, think of, like, Axlay. Think of the Rising games. Think of, say, Gunak.
Sorcerer Striker's 93.
Yeah. And think of, like, UN Squadron, for example. Another horizontal
89.
shmup. Radius Gaiden, for example. That had some problems with it, but it was still... They kind of learned from what the older Gradius games. Didn't learn completely, but it was... But still, I'm just trying... Yeah.
Section Z.
Yeah, Section Z. Yeah, like Section Z, for example. Like...
The Speed Rumbler.
Even the
Well,
arcade
Sonic.
think of like the arcade version, like had some neat stuff with it, like and that was 85. Like I felt that had more mechanics in it than Hydra does. Like I really cannot think of any reason why I like, because I was thinking, I'm like, okay, where am I going to put in the list? I'm like, which one of these would I rather play Hydra over than whatever it is?
And
So I'm-
none of them.
Because
That
I'm
actually
thinking,
reminds me of another thing, is the game sacrifices utility for the sake of sheer numbers, because there's a lot of different weapon upgrades, but you saw what you were using the entire time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I watched a video actually of the original Hydra to see, to make sure that this was in fact an upgraded version of it, and it did seem like it. And some of the weapons you get later on are just straight up better. And it's like, why would you use some of these older ones? Which, I mean, fine. I can see why you would have an upgraded thing,
Why
but
not just have a power-up system?
yeah, it's like,
you increase the damage of your gun or whatever instead of having
Like-
a better gun.
think like Axlay, for example, has no power up system, but there's the weapons. You have a reason to use each of the weapons, and it just feels kind of like lazy to the point of like. And also just thinking like one of the weapons you get later on is straight up the Gradius laser.
Actually,
Yeah.
that reminds me of and the Gradius laser is fucking amazing in this game.
Yeah.
But that reminds me of actually another thing, is like, you're never going to use most of these weapons. Like, even if you were trying your best to vary it up with each stage, you're never going to use most of these weapons because you have no reason to. Like,
Yep.
you're going to find something you're comfortable with and stick with it, and then this variety is there for no reason, because some of them are just either straight up better or worse than what you've already got.
Yeah.
I mean, Lolo, what did you say? That you don't really like the fucking spread shot? You
Yeah.
just with the red gun.
Yeah, because I kept with the railgun because because the thing is the when the wide shot, like when you fully upgrade it, it does a 3-way shot, which is fine. But when you don't have it fully upgraded, it shoots two shots in 45-degree directions, and it's probably a weaker shot because you shoot 2 of them.
That's really bad.
That's fucking garbage. And once again, you can't swap on the fly. You can only do it outside of a stage.
Yeah,
Which you can only get outside of a stage by either game overing or beating a stage.
and also
Yeah.
like for example, like the power weapon, it's like, I'll pick this. I'm never going to use it because I'm never going to have one. Because why would I pick a power weapon over a shield or a speed up? And it just kind of like what I was saying earlier. And one thing that I was thinking, I'm like, thinking, I'm like, which one of these games would I rather play Hydra over this? And I'm like, it's going down. I'd rather play Gunsmoke. I'd rather play Terra
You could play
Cresta.
any of these games, honestly, over except for like some of the most appallingly bad ones.
Like
Yeah, like Deadly Towers.
like Stinger, maybe. Devious,
Yeah.
maybe. Like I don't quite feel like there was some polish
Steel
in it. Like
Empire is like the absolute lowest I would lowest I would rank it, and maybe
because like there is some thought put into it. It's not an abysmal game like say King's Knight or like Baraduke 2 or like Cloudmaster.
Choan Nikki.
But it's not good. Like they made
anything interesting.
it's like if you think about like say someone like when Battle Kid came there was a game, someone made a new NES game called Battle Kid. So it's like a weird thing. It's like, oh, I got a new NES game, where am I going to put it in? Like I have something new to think about with all my other NES games. Whereas Hydra basically is like, oh, I have a new shmup, let me put it right in the middle of everything else, so it can just join the pile of forgotten shmups that no one really cares about.
Yeah.
Because it's like it doesn't feel good. Like it was designed to be not great.
It's also great because give me 1 second.
Die Hard people really like it.
Yeah, no, it's also great because the game has secret stuff like Maldea Castilla. And you
But
actually
no
get
one
a
can
pretty
get, like-
neat thing for getting all of them and beating the game.
What is
What
the
do you
thing
get
you
for
get?
beating all of them?
You start the game with every weapon unlocked, and each fucking one area gets you a new save.
So it's basically the way that the game should have been.
Essentially.
Well, maybe not to that extent, but it basically also, yeah, because like the one save thing is stupid. Like there is no reason outside of archaic bullshit to have the one save.
The Die Hard community likes it.
I'm sure they do.
They're all
Meanwhile, human beings can play any other shmup that they
Yeah.
want, and they can have fun playing any other shmup than Hydra.
just have fun. Do something nice for yourself.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I'll give it
Play
credit
something
for being.
relaxing. Play some
I-
Kirby.
I will play Well, I'll give you a hint. We're going to be playing something much better after this, but just to get the point across, like this, like there's some fine things built into it. Like it has
a good
some of the things
soundtrack.
make sense. It has a good soundtrack. There
It's
in
got
it.
good art.
I mean,
Like,
some of the
like
things
the
kind of make
art.
sense. It was neat seeing the art is good. The problem is that the game is such bare bones, like average, like even worse than average sometimes. That it just thinking of like how Maldita Castillo was such a good game. Like seeing this recreate, and the fact that it didn't adapt any of this is a new version of Hydra. And they could have gone and made several changes to the game to make it a much, like they intentionally meant, like they had a chance to go back and say, maybe we shouldn't do this now. Or to give you the option maybe to not have, maybe have a
was
smaller
really
pickups.
proud about
Or-
having varying pitch for the shots.
Yes. But I'm like, if you're going to go to that effort to like, and not change it at all, if you're putting it at the same level as every other game, like every game in MAME, every shmup in MAME, even games like on the Super Nintendo and Mega Drive, if you're putting yourself up against those, why would I play this when I can play any of those other games?
Yeah.
And that's something that
Also-
it's something that irritates me as someone who plays a lot of older games, seeing new people try and make older style games. Like, you can't go and make an older game. I mean, you can. But the
It's
thing
like
is, you
Contra.
have to adapt. Think of like Shovel Knight. Think of like Blaster Master Zero for some of the changes that it did. Like, it was Blaster Master, but they adapted, like, they thought about it and made changes that adapted it to a modern, like, it's just, I've seen several
Mania.
like Sonic Mania, they adapted it to a
Wonder
modern.
Boy.
Yes, well, Wonder Boy 3 doesn't count because that is literally Wonder Boy 3.
True.
They just put a really nice paint.
True.
Like, you can literally flop it
A
back and
really,
forth.
really good paint job though for it.
Yes.
True.
Like, think of like Shovel Knight. Think of like
Yeah.
and like compare that to like say 1001 Spike. Think of La Mulana, for example.
Yeah.
Like, even the original, not the remake. Like, it was meant to be like an MSX style game. A brutal
It was
one.
an MSX love letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they made changes to make it good.
Yeah.
Even he knows where to cut off.
Yeah. And that game was such a love letter to the absolute bullshit hard difficulty of MSX games. But he still knew when to actually make things, sane. And when they did,
Quite completable.
yes.
People don't have the patience or the time to put up with that kind of bullshit anymore.
And also, when they did the remake, they changed some of the older stuff. They made it play different. They made it play like good. I mean, granted, they also took away the MSX references that were fun, but I don't think you could have gotten away with that. You would have had to do a lot of creative naming.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like the original Hell Temple, one of the bosses was straight up the big boss.
Also, the whole thing where the prize of the Hell Temple was straight up a reference to Dragon Quest II.
Or that you could actually play MSX games on the reader.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah. Well, that was GR3, which was a different thing, because that was an original game.
Yeah. Either way. But still, the other fun thing about Hydra is that to get the good ending, not the best ending, which I'm pretty sure requires all the secrets. To get the good ending, you need to destroy every Hydra seed.
What is a Hydra seed?
They're found throughout the levels, and you shoot them and destroy them. Not every level has one. There's a handful throughout the game.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up a proper guide for it, but I can't find anything that isn't video, and I don't feel like watching a fucking video.
Yeah, so why don't we go ahead? Let's see. Why don't we actually stop ranting and actually rank this thing?
Yeah.
I'm saying it goes below Troubleshooter. I'd almost rather play Laser Blast over it. Acrobatics is just not a good game, but
It's better than
the
Silver
problem
Surfer.
Yeah, that's not hard though. Like,
I'd
the
rather
problem
play it
here-
over Steel Empire. That's where I sit.
My problem here is that they have so much shmup history to learn from, and they didn't, and that makes it arguably worse than a lot of other things.
there is something to be said about if... Like, I don't know if this expression makes sense, but, like, if you take in a random dog or, like, a random animal from the street and it soils on your carpet, that's kind of your fault. But if you train a dog, give him you point out, you do the training, and then it does it, it's a lot more disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So yeah, my personal thing, like, I just really do not like Abotics because I think it's just not a good game.
Yeah.
And there's
Hydra is functional.
there's craft, but it's to what end? I don't feel comfortable saying below Abotics.
Like I said, Steel Empire was just so dreadful.
Yeah.
Like Hydra, I could at least play.
I'd put it beneath Darius.
Yeah,
I'd be
Between
okay with
Steel
that.
Empire and Darius would be a good place for it.
Which, I mean, would be a bit of insult to injury as well, but
Yeah,
he straight up
but
states one of his inspirations as Darius.
yeah. The thing is, Darius, like the original brutal version of Darius was more forgiving than this game is. And also, it's not a techno game. Whoops.
Influences the entire horizontal shmup genre. Gradius, R-Type, Darius, Turrican, and not so popular classics like Enforcer, Space Manbow, Hellfire, X-Multiply, Guardian, Hydophos, Armalite, and many, many.
That reminds me, I haven't done X Multiply. I'm gonna have to do that soon.
Think of Hydra as a bastard son of the classics. It has the genes, but it's not a clone of one or another. It's a lot of original content that I hope you can appreciate.
It's just a bastard.
Insert Metal Gear. Insert Liquid Snake failing biology forever here.
Yeah.
God, I'm just gonna say one thing about the thing they list of references. You can tell it's a European developer when they put Turrican on the list.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should rank the soundtrack.
It's good.
It's good.
I
Fucking
listened to Monolith over it. So it's definitely not number one.
Yeah, it's definitely not number one, but
I'd put it in top 5.
I'd say it's better than Battle Garaga, personally. Possibly even better than Musha.
yeah, because it's like
It's probably better than Shoaniki.
yeah, I will fight.
I got it up there because that's a shit post on my part.
Yeah, I will bring down, but also Torpid, is it better than Radiant Silvergun?
You whore!
I knew that was coming.
I mean, if you really want that, we can evaluate that at a different point. If someone
No, we're going with this. We're going with this, Lolo.
Ah, I forgot to open up the stream to get the points.
Joke's on you. You can't click on Lemez's ass if you don't watch the stream.
Oh well, I'll do that another time. It's too late at this point.
One day I'll actually
Carmen will
open that
just say,
stream and click Lemez's ass. This is my ass. It was made for me.
Because yeah, if you have enough points. By the way, if I did not mention it, which I probably should have earlier, if you watch the stream on Twitch and you go into the little menu, one of the things, actually two of the things, that regards to this series, that you can do, you can always request a shmup that doesn't require money, but if you go through the fun bucks, I would definitely pretty much be required to do it at some point. But also one thing you can do is invalidate a shmup's ranking, which means that I will be basically take it off the list and then in a later episode re-rank it. So if you want me to think like in comparison to games I've played after.
Or if you're an asshole and want us to do Super Hydra again.
I do. By the way, before I say that, I do have stipulations. I can deny any of these things at any
You
time.
have veto privileges, yeah.
Okay.
That's just really stupid to vote out something bad just because you think it'd be fun to have Lolo play it.
Yes.
Again, I wouldn't
The whole
say
point
it-
of it is if you feel there's an actual discrepancy in the numbers and
Which also, I am not doing Super Hydorah again because, I'll just give you a hint. There's a reason why I didn't want to play it that long because I want to keep it under 2 hours.
I mean, how long did we just rant about it also?
Yeah.
no, it's so he can refund it, you dipshit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Which also I didn't mention, it is also available, I believe, on Xbox One and actually, I think it's only Xbox One. There might be a PS4 version. I'm not entirely certain.
It doesn't
I'm
really
pretty sure it's
matter.
like Xbox.
So the console that doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, I was looking at GameFAQs. It said only PC and Xbox.
Disgusting.
Okay.
Need a Switch version.
No, I'm not
Get
gonna get it.
Splatoon.
No, they
It's a
just...
good game.
Super Hydra plus Splatoon.
All right. Oh. Okay. So, now I was originally going to do 3 games, but I think we need a good game to clean our palate.
There you go.
Yeah, getting done with that bullshit. Why don't we actually go into something that I know for a fact we ranked higher? Also, something that actually has a windowed mode that makes sense.
What is the windowed mode like?
Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention Hydra mode, the windowed mode is actually a full screen mode because if you click out the window, it stops it.
Neat.
How do I
Look,
pop
it's
this
Asia.
up? Lord Tyrion, you just missed me ranting about a game for 45 goddamn minutes.
Yeah.
It was
Was
bad.
it really
Like,
45 minutes? Shit.
yeah, no. We
Yeah, it's now 10:09.